It looks like we're having a full group tonight. I don't need to even be live streaming, but the tests, the day students who did well on it finished in about an hour, so I can't give no class, you know that. And some students took an hour and a half or more. So if I gave it to you now, some of you finish an hour, some of you want an hour and a half, or hour and 45 minutes. Other students have to sit around 45 minutes till we start class, so we can't do that. So I'll give it to you in the last part of class, somewhere around 4 to 5 or 5 o'clock. Okay, but on the test, of course, you have it's an 80-point problem. The worksheet, balance sheet, income statement, closing, and adjusted income. The 10-point problem is the accounting cycle. Now, you don't have to word it exactly the way the book does, as long as it makes sense. You know, to say financial statement, you don't have to say put path, you financial statement, you know. Make journal entries, right? You know, when you do the details, so make it short as possible, list of 10 steps. Now, there was a little bit of confusion on the posting. It's a special journal. Now, I didn't count that chapter a lot. I was going to count it 20 points. But some of my day students missed those journals so bad, I decided I would count them 10 points, which helped the grade. Now, you know, if you do an invoice on account, that goes in what journal? You prepare an invoice on account. What journal? On the random? Which one? Revenue, yeah, revenue. All right. And you know, if you write out a check, that's what journal?
Cash payments.
Cash payments. And you know, if anybody pays you money for any reason, it's what journal? Cash receipts, right? And you know, if it's adjusted in closing entries or some other kind of funny entry, it will go with journal. The general. And you know, if it's buying supplies or equipment or anything on account, it goes in one journal. Purchase. Okay, however, now I have these written down, you're just matching, you just put down A, B, C, D, or whatever. But I have cash receipts journal listed on here. Now the owner invested cash in the business. They'd go to cash receipts journal, wouldn't it? The owner invested cash in the business. That would go in the cash receipts journal, right? Brandon, put squeeze in your eyes. You know that's where it would go. Okay. All right. However, if a customer paid you cash on your accounts receivable, it still goes in the cash receipts journal, right? But it also is posted to a subsidiary ledger. So I have those other choices on here. I've got cash receipt journal for things like the owner put invested cash or somebody paid your rent for the month. But I've also got cash receipts journal with subsidiary posting when you receive money from a customer. And I've got a cash payments journal with subsidiary posting. All right, when you pay a supplier for purchases. So keep that in mind when you answer those little 10-point questions. Now get your adjusted entries right on the worksheet. Okay, worksheet is 40 points, balance sheet 10, income statement 10, owner's equity statement 10, worksheet's 30. And then, of course, closing entries 10, adjusted entries 10. You already had to put them on the worksheet, copy them all. Okay, that's your test. I hope everybody does well on it. I'm going to turn in midterm grades. Probably so far I'd only have one if I looked at the first test. But now I will wait till you take the test and next week, when I give you back the test, I will ask you want to count it double. Okay? Some of you may want to count it double. One young lady put on her day test, she went to count it double, or she texted me, said she wanted to count it double. She made 85 on the first test, 83 on the second. It hurt much. All right. Of course, Tara is here tonight. Tara is a complete live stream student. She did well on the first test. And what do you do at the bank, Tara? A loan assistant. She used to be a teller, but she couldn't keep secrets, so they promoted her to a loan assistant. All right, you got that, didn't you? Okay. Anyhow, some of our students are doing well with the local banks. I have a day student. I did her 90-hour evaluation day, and she graduates in May. She's one of our best accounting majors, and she's, I guess, mother of a child, and single parent. I guess that's what we call them. But anyway, she's a single parent, and she works 50 hours a week. She takes about 21 hours of accounting classes and other classes, and she's got a baby. And she's one of our best accounting students, so it can be done. Now, she worked at Bojangles as a shift manager, made pretty good, but some firm that wanted her to work in accounting paid her, I don't know if it's $12 or $15 an hour, which was good pay. But Bojangles missed her, and they wanted her back, and they're paying her $17.50 an hour for 40 hours, and then whatever time and a half is, 26 or 27. So she averages $19 an hour for 50 hours a week. That's around $950 a week. That's around $50,000 a year. That's not bad for a 21 or a 22-year-old. I believe she's 21. But Bojangles wanted her to quit now, and they'd send her to their home office for accounting. So she's going to wait till she graduates in May. Then she'll go to their home office and work in accounting. And I'm sure she'll make more than she did as a manager of the restaurant. Okay, so there's potential in accounting. Tara wants to do management and accounting because in the banks, you need both. You need, I know, in the bank, but with accounting, you can have internal auditors and probably do a lot more with it. But with management, with some accounting background, which she'll have, there's always branch manager, main bank manager, president, CFO or CEO, what have you. So anyway, Tara, you can go up and you will, no matter what you major in, you'll do well. Okay. All right, we're going to take just a little peek for half an hour or so at chapter 6. You need to read that for next week and be working the first few exercises. Now, how many of you have chapter 4 100% completed on Cengage? William? What'd you make? Well, that's still okay. Did anybody make 100%? Or what?
99.97.
Well, I'd round that off to 100, wouldn't I? Okay. But anyway, half of you made 100. But William, 91's fine. But as long as you have it completed, go ahead and put a +5 on your test. So I will look at that. Well, if I have to use that, I don't want to record any bad grades for midterm. But put a +5 on your test. And that helped you last week. Now, however, if you count your test double, if you got a 91 and you finish Cengage and I give you 5, that's a 96. If you want to count it double, I'll just count the 91 twice and the 90 once and the 96 once. I won't give you 96 twice. I will not count that bonus double, okay? So, but anyway, let's take just a quick look at the next chapter. This next chapter is merchandise inventory. Now, up to this point, we've just been talking about a service business. All right. But now we're going to talk about merchandise inventory. Now, when you do your income statement tonight, you take revenue minus what? Revenue minus expenses. But in a merchandise business, you got to take sales minus cost of goods sold. That merchandise costs you. That gives you gross profit. Then you take away expenses to get net income. So your income statement will grow after this test. Accounting cycle is usually a month or 30 days operating cycle. Some of these cycles in the store has to be sold. So here's the difference basically between service and merchandise. As I told you, sales minus cost of goods sold gives you gross profit, minus expenses gives you income. When it says operating income, that's the income you make from the business you're in. You may get other income from investments or interest income or some other place. All right, we mentioned sales being your revenue, cost of goods sold. It's the expense, but you take it out first to get gross profit, gross margin, some books call it. Now, who has worked at a grocery store, a clothing store? Okay, you got merchandise, don't you? Now, what grocery store did you work at? Grant. Okay. Now, in merchandise business, you have a lot of shoplifting. Okay. I don't care if it's stale. What did you work at? Roses. Roses sells everything. I guess try to. A lot of merchandise. You ever catch a shoplifter? What do you do with it? Is the manager good? The police out there or what? Now, you know, if you go in a store and you go shopping and you eat a grape, that's shoplifting. Okay? I've seen these mothers give their kids a candy bar and they eat the candy bar in the store. They put the wrapper in the trash can. They should take the wrapper, let it be checked out. But all kinds of forms of shoplifting. I taught a shoplifting seminar one time, a store called Singles. It's a pretty big store in the area when I was teaching marketing in public school. And anyhow, so many different ways to shoplift. What do you do at Rosie's to prevent shoplifting? Sarah, what the grocery store do? What they do to prevent shoplifting? What do they have cameras at? Just the office? Everywhere, okay. I know Food City, I paid for something one time, and it didn't happen when I got home. And I went back and told the manager he could take my ticket and real quickly bring up the video for that time and that register and that day. And there I stand, I'm checking out, and the cash register operator left that item I bought. Did not put it in the bag. I guess they put it back on the shelf later. So I used to work at a supermarket. All we had was a two-way mirror in the back of the store. We'd go back to the butcher shop and look out and see everybody in the store. And in the front of that two-way mirror was just, you could see yourself when you were buying meat. Meat looked good too. Meat looked more red and fresh, I guess. What have you. But so be careful what you do in some of these stores. Cameras may be on you. Okay? Watch your funny actions. Don't pick your nose or what have you, okay? But merchandise inventory. Actually, a store manager told me one time that there was a woman come in the store. She had on a dress. This was in a general merchandise store. They sold TVs and different things. She put a 12-inch TV between her legs, put her dress down over it, and walked out of the store with that TV between her legs. And when cigarettes were easy and accessible to get to, people would do cartons of cigarettes that way, under their clothing. And there's just so many ways to shoplift. I know a lot of stores at Christmas time, they have Christmas music, and in that Christmas music, they have a subliminal message. Now, you folks who are taking marketing class, you know what the word subliminal means? Miranda, what's it mean? It's a message in that music that your subconscious mind may pick up, but you really didn't know it was there. And message in a lot of your Christmas music is shoplifting is a crime. You want to go to jail or whatever. And it's legal. But they used to use subliminal advertising in movies. You may be watching the movies, you may be watching a preview, it doesn't matter. Across that screen would be a flashing sign that you really didn't know you saw about go down and get a refreshing Coke or a bag of popcorn, and you'll get up and go down to the concession stand and buy something. But they make that illegal. Subliminal advertising. Now, Christmas time, they have undercover people running around. Now, a lot of these markets, they have cameras on the cash register. Employees steal too, don't they? Employee pilfering is a big thing. Well, a lot of stores don't have a door in the back way, whereas an employee can pick up something and walk out. You got to prevent employees from stealing also. All right, but shoplifting adds 1% a year onto the items you buy. If you spend $1,000 a year, 1% of that would be $10 you're paying because of shoplifting. Okay. All right, there's other ways to prevent shoplifting, whether it be the two-way mirrors or real heavy tags on sunglasses, or if you're working in a jewelry store, don't put out over 2 rings at one time. Don't put out a whole dozen, you'll miss one of them. Different ways to prevent shoplifting. Another good trick I heard about too is this fellow pretended to be a preacher. He carried a big old Bible in the stores with him, but it had the inside of that Bible cut out. And he got merchandise and put it in the Bible and closed it. So using the Bible as a aid to shoplifting. Okay. The big old coat during Christmas time. William, you came into the store that I was at and you had a big old coat, long coat, which I wore sometimes myself. But you might be under suspicion. You may have hooks and clothes racks and hangers and clothespins, attach things to, put under your coat and in the pockets, walk out of the store. But store people are real conscientious about the big overcoats, being overweight. Okay? And you just don't know how many people leave their old shoes in the box and wear their new shoes outside. All right, now some places, Kmart, when they were in business, they had a beeper that would go off if you went out the door. Does the bookstore have a beeper if you take a book out of the bookstore? No. Some books, I know Virginia Tech, you have a beeper. You went out without scanning that UPC code, the beeper would go off. All of them Kmart has that. Just ways to protect your merchandise. Okay? And people go in bathrooms and put on clothes and wear them out, put their old clothes on over. Bail. Now, if you bought a dress and ran that bail, you shoplifted and took it home, you probably got that little tag on it. You gotta get off. If you try to get it off, it's supposed to squirt ink all over it, right? All right. But at the bail at Claypool Hill, and I shop at some, somebody stole that little gadget. So they can take it home and then steal merchandise and use the little gadget to take off the ink blotter or whatever you call it. So shoplifting, okay, it's bad. I was always taught, and I even told my son this, if you steal something or get something dishonest, you'll lose 6 or 7 times as much. Okay. My son, when he was in high school, he switched tags on a sweater from a $30 sweater to a $20 sweater to a $30 sweater. So he got a $30 sweater for $10. I told him he would lose way more than that. Next week, he got a traffic ticket, $75. Okay? He always remembered that. It might have been a coincidence that he got the traffic ticket, but he did lose a lot more than he saved. All right, so merchandise inventory, you have to protect it. You got to protect cash. We'll talk about that later when we do bank reconciliations. We'll talk more about the banking business later and so forth. But in a merchandise business, you have a few new accounts. You have an asset called merchandise inventory. And they're putting this new on here this year, estimated return inventory. Customers refund payable as a liability. Revenue is sales, and then another expense is cost of goods sold. So your accounts expand a little bit for a merchandise business. All right, did anybody ever take inventory? All right, Melissa, where did you take inventory?
Pearl Vision.
Pearl Vision. Eyeglasses? All right. How often do you have to take it?
We do it twice a year.
What? Some stores just do it once a year. I helped at the grocery store one time, take inventory. But now you have professional inventory takers to come into a place like Rose's or Walmart or Kmart. You'll have a professional inventory takers coming in January, counting everything on the shelf and blah, blah. Anyway, inventory. Now, if I own the zip-in market, I would probably take inventory once a month because in a zip-in market, shoplifting is high and so is employee stealing high. And if you work at a clothing store, and if you're a cash checker, you've even got to make allowances for returns and allowances. I mean, at Belk, people will buy a $30 item and put the tag on a $10 item and try to take that $10 item back. Or they'll buy a TV at Walmart They'll put their old TV in the box and try to return it. People try all kinds of things. Okay? Millie, do you know if shoplifting in your country would be high or low or?
Different culture. I don't think anyone should. Because before coming here,
You don't know, you don't think anybody shoplifts in your country?
probably some people, it's kind of, I think for certain people, that's like a big shame. Like, it's the way the culture is, so I don't think it's.
You know, some cultures shame them. And I think a long time ago, some cultures would cut their hands off if they were stealing with those hands.
Also, thing we have here in Walmart and like just the like self-checkout and stuff like that. We don't have that.
Right.
Okay. It's not easy.
Well, self-checkout is another way of moving forward with electronics. I'm sure some of you have been into a Speedy gas station or maybe a Waggles, and they have the small restaurant, a lot of food inside, but you just go up and order on a pad. That cuts out a person taking the order. And self-checkout takes care of a person at a cash register. So electronics can delete a lot of workers. Computers, they thought, would delete a lot of workers. But now everybody in this country that wants to work, there are jobs. All right, two types of inventory, just to mention them briefly. Perpetual, each person's sale of merchandise is recorded. Now, an automobile parts store should have this. I hate to go to the automobile parts store and their computer shows they've got 5 of these on the shelf, and they go back there and they're not on the shelf. Somebody didn't do their job when they sold them to take them out of stock, or didn't do their job when they came in to include them in inventory. All right, both of these methods you should take inventory, physical inventory, physical. All right, periodic inventory, you'll probably just count your inventory once or twice a year. And there's methods to handle that, which we'll look at later. All right, perpetual. We buy inventory, an asset. We credit cash, an asset. Or we credit accounts payable, a liability. That's also an invoice. Invoice or bill that the seller sends to the buyer. We had that in chapter 5. All right, there are credit terms on some merchandise. Anybody know what that means? You'll see it in chapter 6. All right, if you sell something, you are giving your customer a 2% discount if he pays it within 10 days. He has to pay it in 30 days anyhow. And that 2%, and if you are on the other end of this, if you are the buyer, you better take that 2%. That is over 36% real interest a year. Okay? So if you get an opportunity to take a 2 or 3 or 4 or 5% discount, please do that if you are in accounts payable. If you're in accounts receivable, I hope your customers take care of that. All right. Other things you may see is 210 net EOM. EOM just means end of month. Net at the end of the month. You may see ROG. But I see something like that. 30 days after receipt of goods. All right, but we'll worry about those later. We'll get into that heavy next week. So 20 days is the credit period. Just talking more about the terms are expressed as 210 net 30 and are read as 2% discount if paid within 10 days. There are purchase discounts and also sales discount. It works both ways. And we'll go into the math next week. Do take those discounts. All right, here you buy merchandise, and here you pay for it. Because you didn't have any terms, you pay the whole amount within 10 days. Here you buy merchandise. Credit cash for $3,000. You debit merchandise inventory for $60. That's a discount. This is one way of doing it. And you take accounts payable, $29.40. But we'll look at those comparisons also. In purchases and sales, you have returns and allowances. Okay? Melissa, did you ever return anything you ordered? Where do you order from now? Back when my younger days, Sears catalog was real big. And Sears don't have a catalog anymore, do they? J.C. Penney still have a catalog? They don't do it anymore either? Just flyers. What are your catalog now? Is it Finger Hut? Or Finger Nut? What is it? Okay, I think they're pretty big. But anyway, people order things and they send them back. That's a return and allowance. And when there was wide catalog usage, some of these housewives would order 5 or 6 pair of curtains, see which one looked the best. They knew they were only going to keep one. They sent back the other 4. Allowance is if merchandise is defective and they give you a discount. Now, Tara was talking about these debit credit memorandums, how banking is a little different. It's a little bit reverse. If I get a debit memorandum on my bank statement, is that an add or a subtract for me? It's a subtract for me. It's an addition for the bank. All right, these may work different from a bank to a corporation. We'll deal with all these. So you got a lot to learn in chapter 6. Please read it well. You got all these purchases, sales, discounts, returns, allowances, perpetual, periodic, journal entries for all of those. Here, merchandise inventory was sold 2% discount. You take the discount here out up front. All right. Return some of the merchandise at net and then paid for the merchandise at net. Cash sales, no problem. We'll look at how you use credit cards also, MasterCard and Visa. Now, once again, how many of y'all have a credit card? Credit cards are good if you don't have to pay a yearly fee, which you used to have to. Credit cards are good if you get something back, maybe 2%, or maybe sky miles, or maybe merchandise. I like the money. I like it when I accumulate $50 on Discovery that I can subtract it from my bill. Okay. Another thing about a credit card, do not pay interest. It's anywhere from 19 to 28%, no matter how you calculate it. Don't pay interest on credit cards. Too often in this country, scenario, young couple get married. They're both working. How old were you when you got married, Miranda? 19. All right, the young couple gets married. They're both working. Everything's hunky dory. They go out and finance a car, and they're paying rent, and they're paying installment payments on furniture, and they got a big screen TV, and they're paying payments on it. All of a sudden, unplanned, wife gets pregnant. That hasn't happened, has it? Expecting when? Oh, okay. Was planned. Okay, good. All right. How old? Okay. Okay. Anyway, back to my story. There's this plan, but when the babies come along and the wife was working, some cases she don't feel like working, so she has to quit. After 4 or 5 months of the pregnancy. All right, that makes it hard on the husband. Now he's the main money earner. Okay, husband goes out and gets another job called moonlighted. He's working 2 jobs. That causes stress. He's not at home that much. Baby comes along. You got to have all this baby stuff, and they are expensive. So all this stuff you have to buy for them. All right, that's more stress. Guess what happens? Divorce. And what's the number one cause of divorce? Finance. Money. Not mother-in-law. She comes up there in the top 10. Okay, not adultery. That's in the top 10. Finance is number 1. Okay. So watch those credit cards. Don't let them get out of hand. All right, so we'll look at the credit card entries later. Most of them are the same as cash, but you do have to pay a percent. The retailer does. That's the one we're going to be making interest for. The retailer has to pay the credit card company a percent, okay? Discounts, as I was taking to the seller. I'm just going to run through these fairly fast. Customer refunds. Now I go up Michigan. I think it's Michigan. My sister will not let you throw away a soda pop bottle because they charge you 5 cents for those bottles. And you take them back, you get your money back. And when you do that, that cuts down on pollution. All right, states that you charge for a bottle and you get refunded. So it would help with pollution. And it helps production too, not to have to produce those bottles again. Anyway, we'll look at those. Of course, this is a credit memo. We'll talk about that later too. When merchandise is returned or what have you. All right, just flying through it. Freight, we're going to talk about freight on merchandise. Usually you have to add it to the cost of it. We'll learn what FOB shipping point is, free on board. Want to mention that real quick, means that the buyer pays the freight charges from the shipping point. Now, if it's FOB destination, which I don't know if I saw that or not, it should be an FOB destination. And that's when the seller pays for the delivery charges. It's still his till it reaches you. Okay, now that's just a little review, so please look over that. Now, you have a couple of pages in your book. This one was transaction of seller and buyer. Now, this is perpetual. So when you get to that example in your book, please study it before next week. Now, there's one more page I want to show you real quick. If it's on this PowerPoint, there's a page in your book that compares perpetual and periodic. Do read the appendix also. That's the periodic method. And look at the entries for the periodic method. And if there is a comparison for those two methods, I don't see it, please look at the comparison. All right. I know you don't have your mind on anything but the test. Okay. So I will get you started on the test at about 15 to 5 as I see it. Okay. I'm going to cut off. Sonny, you over here? Find your thing.
You just need to unlock your device first. I can learn to understand you much better.
It's on a camera. It's probably on the right side. It's on a camera. Got a customer or supplier. Remember, folks, supplies on hand is what you have lent. If you haven't lent, how can you call it a supplies expense? So please know what's supplies going on. Oh. Nature's same way. Yeah, issued a check for salaries on there twice. Should have the same answer. But folks, be careful with supplies. Don't miss something so easy. Supplies on hand, that's not your supplies expense.
On,
That's the only one that should trick you.
on hand, it means what you have left, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what you have left. That's gotta show up. What you have left has to show up on your balance sheet.